Picture a dimly lit bedroom in late Victorian London. A young woman stands before her vanity mirror, her hands trembling as she pours a fine snow-white powder into a small ceramic dish. She mixes it with a few drops of water, creating a thick, smooth paste, and carefully smooths it over her face to hide the scars of exhaustion and aging. Within months, this very routine will cause her teeth to loosen, her skin to wither into a sickly gray, and her internal organs to quietly shut down. The powder is laced with pure lead, but she doesn't care, because society has told her that without flawless skin she has no value. This was the horrific, toxic reality of the early beauty world. But the most terrifying part of this story isn't the poison itself. It is the fact that when two ruthlessly ambitious women realized these chemicals were destroying their customers, they didn't stop selling them. Instead, they launched a multi-billion-dollar psychological trap, rebranding this lethal back-alley chemistry into a high-end luxury, proving that if you exploit a consumer's deepest fears correctly, they will gladly pay a fortune for the very thing that is ruining them. Walk into any luxury department store today, and you will see a sea of women standing patiently in pristine lines, waiting to hand over their credit cards at glittering glass counters. They are surrounded by minimalist branding, soft lighting, and flawless models promising eternal youth. Feels clean, safe, and elite. But this $500 billion empire is built entirely on a foundation of hidden graves. Go back a century and those long lines of desperate women didn't look so polished. They stood on freezing, soot-stained cobblestones, coughing through heavy industrial smog, waiting to buy unregulated back-alley concoctions. In the late Victorian and Edwardian eras, showing signs of aging, stress, or poverty was a social death sentence for a woman. Yet, the underground world of makeup was a lawless, dangerous Wild West. There were no safety regulations, no ingredient lists, and no legal protections. Makeup was a deeply shameful taboo, legally tied to sex workers and back-alley scammers. It was a chaotic black market of arsenic, mercury, and lead. But where the rest of the world saw a dirty street vice and a health hazard, two fiercely ambitious women saw a goldmine of human desperation waiting to be weaponized into an untouchable global monopoly. To build a global empire out of literal poison, you have to be an absolute master of human psychology. On one side of the battlefield stood Helena Rubinstein, a penniless immigrant fleeing an arranged marriage in Poland, landing in the scorched dust of Australia with zero money and nothing but 12 jars of her mother's homemade face cream. On the other side was Elizabeth Arden, a Canadian immigrant who dropped out of nursing school, driven by a desperate, burning hunger to claw her way into the highest ranks of New York high society. Both women were complete outsiders. Both were entirely broke. But both possessed an almost predatory understanding of female insecurity. They realized that while male investors dismissed makeup as a worthless passing fad, women viewed it as a matter of social survival. Rubinstein began mixing creams in backrooms, slapping astronomical price tags on them because she realized a profound psychological truth. Women do not trust cheap miracles. Arden opened an ultra-exclusive salon on Fifth Avenue, painting the front door a glaring, unmistakable red, turning skincare into a high-society ritual reserved only for the wealthy aristocracy. They took a shunned, dangerous product from the gutter, stripped away its scandalous reputation, and rebranded it as the ultimate symbol of wealth and high status. Within years, their revenues skyrocketed into the tens of millions, completely blindsiding the male-dominated business world. But as their wealth reached legendary heights, a quiet, corrosive rot began to set in at the top of both empires. Success didn't bring security, it brought intense, consuming paranoia. Rubinstein and Arden became utterly obsessed with one another. Living and operating just blocks apart in Manhattan, they never met face to face, yet they spent every waking hour tracking each other's moves, poaching each other's staff, and aggressively copying each other's product colors. Their multi-million-dollar corporations were no longer running on market data, they were running on pure, unadulterated hatred. Meanwhile, behind the gold-leaf doors of their salons, the products remained an unregulated chemical hazard. The formulas were rushed, unstable concoctions designed to bleach, peel, and artificially tighten skin by brute force. Reports of severe chemical burns, facial scarring, and sudden chronic illnesses among their elite clientele began to pile up on executive desks. The fatal turning point arrived when Helena Rubinstein aggressively expanded her operations deep into New York, stepping directly onto Elizabeth Arden's home turf. Instead of halting production to make the formula safe, Arden completely changed the physical illusion of the sale. She hired hundreds of young women, dressed them in pristine, stark white medical lab coats, and stationed them right on the dirty, soot-covered city streets outside department stores. When you build a global empire on a foundation of deception and mutual hatred, the structure will eventually shatter. The war spiraled into frantic, chaotic corporate espionage. If Rubinstein launched a new red lipstick, Arden would force her factories to run 24-hour shifts to release a slightly brighter red version the next morning, driving supply chains and exhausted workers to a breaking point. They spent millions of dollars on petty, malicious lawsuits, draining their own corporate treasuries just to legally harass one another over minor packaging patents. Because they were so utterly blinded by their personal feud, they missed the massive cultural shift happening right beneath their feet. The sheer volume of women suffering from severe chemical poisoning from cosmetics could no longer be covered up by clever advertising. Governments finally stepped in, launching crushing, highly publicized federal investigations into the beauty industry. The pristine white lab coats were stripped of their clinical authority as courts forced the companies to reveal the toxic chemical ingredients hidden inside their luxury jars. Helena Rubinstein and Elizabeth Arden passed away within just 18 months of each other. They died as multimillionaires, yet they were both profoundly broken, exhausted, and completely isolated by a lifelong hatred that brought them zero peace. They are long gone, but the grand psychological trap they invented a century ago still completely rules our world today.